So hi David, nice to meet you. So thanks for joining us. We really value your time, and let's just start. So my first question is, as the CEO of Qore Technologies, so with extensive experience in technology and telecommunication industries, could you please introduce yourself and share how your expertise has driven innovation and business goals in various sectors?
Yes, Philippe, thank you very much for having me. It's really nice to see you. I also value your time. Yeah, thank you. So Qore Technologies, we've been in business now for nearly 17 years and basically started off and we've continued to do things differently, trying to always look outside of not the standard way of solving a solution, or solving a problem, excuse me, but rather trying to understand, what are the real, root causes of the business pains, and finding new or better ways to address those problems that really make sense for the business. So what I mean is, even as a technical and IT company, not looking at things necessarily from a pure IT perspective, but just trying to look and understand, why is this going wrong and how can we do it better? And then that's sort of, when you look at a problem from another angle, sometimes you can come up with a better solution.
Yeah, and I think I am sick to hear, since years the topic about, having IT getting a seat at the table of the business. I was always sick about it because I think, first of all, I think if you don't have that, then you do something completely wrong. If you separate, business and IT, but I just think it should just be natural. I think that's the point.
I agree.
It's like saying I don't want the HR with with the factory staffing or whatever. You need both, to work together and to deliver on the same goal. So I'm really happy to hear what you're saying about that different angle. But that's a must. You cannot. It's not two different worlds.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
So in your extensive experience, what are the key challenges that businesses have faced in recent years when it comes to adopting and integrating new technologies to improve efficiency?
Yeah, I mean, of course, the big challenge, I guess, is always now, especially now that the technologies and capabilities are accelerating so fast. The rate of change is accelerating. So there are so many new things out there that it's kind of hard to keep track of them. And to, especially bigger companies, they move slower, they react slower, they get set in their ways. And then, some of these transformative technologies or approaches come out, and businesses may take a while before they realize, that they really need them, because they probably start getting hit in their, losing market share or something. Bigger businesses, that is. And then already, their competitors have an advantage because they moved early and they have time. They've had experience with something new and they know how to use it better. So I guess just like the amount of stuff available out there and the rate of change is it's daunting.
Yeah, and it's going even more and more. I think this pace is just increasing. We talk sometimes about weeks now, in terms of new stuff popping up. I think the problem is also, as I'm also a little bit older, I remember the time where IT was not quick enough, to the technology was not ready for what the business wanted. And now I think we are the other way around. We have the technologies going quicker than the business. Huh? So what do you think? What are the challenges for the business, to cope with that pace, and probably also the challenge at what time adopt what? Because, always disrupting in an organization is not always easy too.
Well, even though, we have these great capabilities coming out in AI, you still have to have people there that know what the AI can do, that know the different possibilities. And those people, like you mentioned, if the IT people have a seat at the table in the business, that's something that agile methodologies are kind of supposed to do. They're supposed to really blend, give a very fast feedback cycle between what the business wants and generating something that can address that need. But in my opinion, sort of a different interview, but agile has been taken to something like a cult, and it's turned into like agile for the sake of agile and not for the sake of actually getting business needs, delivered or covered, solutions for business needs delivered faster and corresponding better to what the business wants. But of course, it depends on every organization and how they deliver agile. But this sort of idea that you have these incredible capabilities out there and they can be very relevant to how businesses are run. The businesses need to know about them. They need to understand what they are. Since it's moving so fast, maybe there's nobody there to tell them, hey, you can actually do this. Or maybe none of their people have played with ChatGPT and they say, okay, this is something we can use. They need to have exposure with people that they trust. So somebody that understands the business and the capabilities of the AI. So that's a challenge probably for a lot of businesses.
Yeah, let's maybe rebound on two things that you said. The first one is agile. So I think that's also a point. On one side, everybody talks about it, but not so many are really doing it. I even think there is a shortage of agile skills on the market. Do you face that with your company?
For sure. We see a lot of companies, claiming to embrace agile. But we don't see, I personally don't see a lot of companies doing it the way that it was originally intended. If you read like the Agile Manifesto and you know what it's about, it's sort of more like, it's been, I guess, for practical reasons, it's been turned into something that you should just use you should follow this recipe and then you have Agile. But to do it properly, it needs a commitment from the entire organization. And that means also the business. It's not something just IT does and then delivers business stuff faster because the business is working in their same old way, delivering, fixed requirements. And then, that's how we see it done a lot by big companies. And that's a little bit frustrating. And I assume that with AI, maybe I think we're just at the birth of where we can go with AI. We don't even know yet, but there are a lot of capabilities out there that could really transform the way a lot of businesses are running, and they are not fully used yet, just because the decision makers on the board or in the various C-levels, they don't know about it themselves, or they don't trust it or something, and so it's just not happening.
Yeah, and I think it was still half about the people who talk about it without having tested it, and the people who really because I have fun every day, there's sometimes some small task, but really trying some stuff in ChatGPT. And I think it was last week that I even saw big pharma company, so I think it's Merck Group, who's actually launching an in-house ChatGPT platform or whatever, so that the people try it. I think that's the point. Rather than saying, it's going to kill jobs, it's going to do this and all that. Let's try it, and I think that's going to, I found it an interesting approach, that one company is of that size is trying to use it.
No, that's great. I'm glad to hear that Merck is doing that. Yeah, I think more companies need to do that, and it's not just about ChatGPT. Of course, there's a lot of different kind of AI approaches that can be applied to business context, but ChatGPT is awesome. So
yeah, and you have probably also seen, I think it was last week, there was you have seen it in many different places. That was this picture about a building in Belgium, where it was written, ChatGPT, can you finish that building?
Yes.
And then the comment like, ChatGPT will not replace the let's say the blue collar, on the things. But I think it's not completely right. It's not going to replace everything, but it's still the same. Some tasks, like, I don't know, planning, scheduling, prioritizing of the building, whatever, you can still get the help. I think it was funny, but if you really think about it, it is not 100% true.
It is absolutely not true, and it's a little bit disingenuous, in fact, because the whole idea of AI is that we're achieving what we always wanted to do, is have a higher level of automation to allow human beings to focus on the things they want to do, and have automated systems to do the boring, repetitive things that the humans don't. And we're past that with, we can see the capabilities of ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is also already putting and similar generative AI techniques for images and things like that are already putting in going into the area of creative jobs. And in fact, you can also look at ChatGPT as a creative source, because you cannot trust what it gives you back. It's not facts. It looks like facts. It's similar. It has the same form of an authoritative piece of information, but it could be fantasy. In fact, a lot of it is fantasy.
Yeah, and recently, now even today, I had an interesting discussion about, we have all those people now coming with, we should stop it for 6 months, regulations and all that kind of things. Indeed, a lot of things already exist. If you talk about regulation instead of data, in healthcare or whatever, we have GDPR, we have HIPAA and all that. So these things exist. So it's up. You should continue to use it as you use it with other systems, and you should use it with AI. So not everything has to be reinvented,
That's absolutely right.
And I had I said just today again, a very interesting follow-up discussion with an amazing guy. He's a surgeon, gynecologist, and obstetrician. I met in Dubai, and actually, he's also Cisco CNA certified. So he's a surgeon, and he's doing coding until 4 o'clock in the morning. Wow. And actually, what he's doing, he's reprogramming ChatGPT the other way around, so that not you ask questions to ChatGPT. He's creating a ChatGPT and basically a metaverse doctor who will ask questions. And it's just crazy when you see and question to ask questions. Because basically an AI is trained a specific way. So there's a content. So you have also the other way around to become precise to get the outcome that you want to have.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I actually have a plan with some colleagues to do something similar as well. So that's very interesting.
And again, it's back to the topic that you said. It's also going to create new jobs. Everybody talks about prompt engineer now. But there will be many other things.
Right. So. Yeah. And the whole idea of creating these large language models for specific domains is very interesting. So that this ChatGPT with its fantasy component makes it unusable for certain contexts. However, it doesn't have to be that way. And you could generate large language models, sort of disinhibit, or you can de-incentivize the fantasy aspects of it, or check it and make sure that it outputs just factual things, and that could also be maybe interesting for a certain context as well. But it requires developing the model, which is the big thing. Getting the data set.
Those skills are going to be in demand, because
yes, exactly. Yes. So far we can't automatically generate those models, right?
Yeah. No, it's of course, it's always the same challenge. That's what I'm saying. We talk about it, but we have done so many, I would say, revolutions, evolution or revolution, I don't know, but things have happened like that, I think, go back to smartphone and whatever, people still have work, we have not killed everything.
Not yet.
Not yet. Yeah, because now maybe we come. Yeah, that's the next point. If you want to talk really about generative AI, and really having completely replacing the human, I think we are not there. What should I say? I'm not too much concerned about getting there or not, because of course we try to frighten people about that, but I don't know if you heard during COVID, there was also this topic about, I think mainly in the US, I think, about this kind of universal salary, that you would even get
universal basic income. Yes.
If at the end that's the stage, what is wrong with it?
Yeah. Everything I read about it sounds like the results were positive. It didn't all of the scary things that could happen didn't happen, and it was good for all the test participants, at least from what I read. Right, I'm not a sociologist or about
No, I think I would not be concerned. As I look, officially I'm on early retirement, and I think I never worked as much as now. There's enough other things to do, but you do what you like to do. You select.
Absolutely.
So maybe if you're okay, we could move, maybe more into the health. You already started, but into the healthcare sector, because
Sure.
the else is so as said, the healthcare sector is undergoing significant digital transformation, which of course has been even accelerated, with COVID. So from your perspective, what are the major opportunities and challenges that arise, with implementing technology-driven solution in healthcare organizations?
Yeah, healthcare is awesome sector for applying AI to it. The human body is the most complex, machine that we know of, or and any kind of mammal. But the human body is the most important for us, for obvious reasons. We're selfish. We care about ourselves the most. And healthcare is a big part of everyone's life. It's a very important part, right? And so we look at regulatory concerns, the mission critical aspect of applying AI to healthcare, because you're dealing with somebody's life, quality of life, or actually life itself. And then all the regulations around privacy and things like that. So there's a lot of challenges there, but it is the most clear, I think, application of AI where we can really provide a direct benefit to people. We can benefit their quality of life and generating new treatments and better, more accurate diagnoses. And there's a lot of that's out there right now and is delivering better diagnosis with the same data than really expert doctors can do. And so AI is clearly a great benefit to healthcare. So it's awesome. I love AI in healthcare.
And I'm a little bit biased, because I have a lot of doctors in my network, but these are the doctors which are tech savvy, which are on that, which is, I still think maybe the wrong picture. That's not the majority, and that's the problem, how you get the other ones as well, on this trend. Because again, I think we have entertained too many times this kind of fight AI against doctor, rather than having this, as I said, I still call it more often today. I say we might change later in a few years in another direction, but call it more augmented intelligence than artificial intelligence, because it's going to help the doctors and all these healthcare professionals.
You're totally correct. And I mean, basically, if you look at the way the human mind works, the way AI works is very different. And that means that there are different areas where AI is going to be really strong, and different areas where human beings are still stronger than the AI, at least the AI that we have today. Therefore, augmented intelligence sounds really like a good label, especially for using in healthcare. But I don't know about your personal experience, and I actually have not spoken about it with many doctors or any doctors besides yourself. But that if I would imagine from the doctors that I know, like my sister is a doctor, and we have other doctors in our family, that doctors are always happy to use a tool that enables them to provide a better outcome for their patients. And right now, AI can do that. And so I think that most doctors are happy to use AI if it does exactly that. If they can give their patients a better outcome, every doctor should be happy, and every doctor that I know would be happy.
Yeah, and I think that there are two aspects of what you just said. One is really to, as you said, to improve the diagnostic, because that. I don't think a doctor is saying, I know everything, I don't need, because I'm sorry to say that I have been sitting in front of doctors during consultation and they Googled. And there's nothing wrong for me. There's nothing wrong. They cannot know everything, because what do you think? You come out of the school and then for 20, 30 years, you leave with the knowledge that you had when you came out of the medical school, So I think for me, there's nothing wrong, but I have seen a doctor in front of me Googling. And then we come maybe to the other point, that what you said is to remove these, mundane tasks, that the doctor has. And today, again, a doctor is quite often more looking at the screen than looking at the patient. Wow. Because he has so many data to enter and all that. And that should be automated, so that he can, because that's the point. You want to remove those tasks with AI, help them to get these kind of things, with AI
Definitely.
and automation, so that
Yes.
he can spend, the time as a human being with his patient.
That has a huge value, especially those doctors that have a great, approach with their patients. But with the democratization of AI, this is gonna there's gonna be some kind of right now. I mean, my favorite doctor is Dr. Google. I always I always Google things as well. But with AI and that sort of stuff, there's gonna be more power put into people's hands, and I'm sure that we'll find a way that makes it work out for the good of patients. But then we were talking about regulation and things like that. How is that going to work? We don't know, but the possibilities are incredible.
Yeah, and the thing is, maybe it's more as things are going so quickly, as you mentioned before. How good are we in getting the people following that pace and getting educated? Because I think the Google stuff is okay. Of course I also use, so before I go to the doctor, I have my ID, but I still let him talk. And recently it happened to me, he said something and I said, yeah, it's confirming what I saw on Google, but I didn't start with Google first. It's because you can also do mistake by yourself, by just
For
checking
sure.
Google.
Yes, definitely. Definitely. I know that. I remember my stepfather was a doctor and my mother's a nurse, registered nurse. And so they would often give me contradictory advice. But I listened to my stepfather because he was the doctor. So it'd be funny, if the AI is going to give you one advice and your doctor is going to contradict it, then that would be a challenge.
And again, I think we jumped maybe not to the end, but starting by AI. But indeed, what AI is able to do today, like a ChatGPT, is also because of all what it did before. So maybe going back, to the whole IoT, big data, and all that, because that's you needed data to train the AI. I think that's the key point, and this data was not always available before.
Well, this is a great point because there's a really great book called Thinking Fast and Thinking Slow by, I think it's Daniel Kahneman. He won the Nobel Prize. He's got some incredible things to say, especially about how the human mind works with statistical reasoning. And the human mind is not an intuitive statistical computer, right? But that's exactly what a lot of these AI models are. They're using huge amounts of data, and with all these data points, they're able to generate higher quality, diagnoses and things like that. That's just why it's such an awesome thing for healthcare.
And again, I'm still dreaming about that, and you touched it basically before, because I still think we are not there. I really hope also that we find new insights and treatments because of this amount of data, that AI can compute, which the human brain cannot compute at that speed. But for the moment, I still think we are not there because people are resisting. If you go to an R&D department or whatever, they will say it's not possible. I know it's in 40 years.
Yeah, okay, that's a great point. But you also mentioned IoT. And if we look at like the application of IoT, big data, or like an industrial system, so the concept of the digital twin comes up.
Yeah.
And then if you have a digital twin, if you can do that with a person, then you could have an AI that could run a lot of different sort of scenarios and come up with different treatments. So this is something that sounds, maybe we're smiling right now, but this is not really something science fiction, with the fast computing power that can be applied.
No, we are closer and closer to that, because again, that's also something for me, a dream. I talked about things like that some years ago. I was saying, look, if I could have that, the digital twin of myself,
There you go.
With all the data, with my heart rate and whatever, all the data that you can feed. And then you get kind of like a GPS, you're on the wrong way, maybe you have to change the route. So it's even going further than the treatment, as you say, it's even going to wellness, preventive care, which is what the younger generation is more looking for,
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. I think it's an awesome idea. And I don't know if anybody's actually working on that, but that is where we probably should be going with AI and, looking for really to generate new treatments, or even to evaluate existing treatments across, a large a part of the population.
Yeah,
so it's a cool idea.
And again, maybe it's also, that's also the direction of DeHealth, if you want, in terms of this data economy, but, about the people, because on one side, there's tokenization, nudging and all that. So it's also, if you think it's about giving them the direction to be healthy, but you can only do that if you also know what does it mean to be healthy.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, DeHealth actually, that's true. DeHealth, you're already sort of moving in this direction, and you have the technology already, like you're already in this area. Yeah, you guys, that's true. Yeah, DeHealth is really positioning themselves to go in that direction. That's cool. I love what you guys are doing with DeHealth, with enabling customers to actually monetize their own information safely and securely. I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, and again, we still have, but it's not really a surprise. The biggest challenge are more to sell this data that you have, to sell this data also, like to big pharma, whatever, because again, they are slow and they are not sure, sorry to say that, always about what they want.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and I think we already had this kind of discussion where it is about, I don't believe about this black box, especially now with big data. There's so much data, so you have to come to a point where you know what you want to do the data at the time you extract it. So what do you think about that?
Well, I'm just thinking that if you could actually build the digital twin of the human body, then you could generate your own data for any scenario that any pharmaceutical company would want to have. And of course, then your existing users wouldn't be very happy, probably, because their information would not be as valuable. And right now, it's the only thing we got, right? It's a key way to do it. So, but of course, without a vision for the data you need and what you want to do with it, it makes it hard to move forward. But you are providing the kind of data that the companies need to do a lot of different kind of analyses and things like that for new treatments or a lot of different things that can be done with medical data.
Yeah, and of course, it may not be the interest of the pharma company, for you to be healthy because they want to sell the treatment. But
that's true.
But that's not everything. I still think we still have people sick, and also monitoring the people. Of course, easy things if they take the treatment correctly, how they react to the treatment, clinical trials. So there are still a lot of opportunities there. But it is true, it's nothing new, that pharma is rather doing sick care than health care.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hope they always stay good.
Yeah, and again, I'm saying pharma, but I don't want to believe it, but I know that it's true. I recently had the discussion, same thing happens also for in healthcare for doctors and whatever. I recently talked about, the two doctors in Dubai doing the same job. One, okay, he's close to quit his job, but he made only 5,000 euros because he doesn't want to be a cash machine and having the people coming and coming. Because what he's saying is that indeed, we are not really curing the people. We want them to come back, and he's giving me bad examples. Like, one woman out of 4 has painful menstruation. And he's saying we know how to treat that. So there's a medicine, which is efficient at 55%. And for the others, you can do a non-invasive surgery, but they don't do it. If you know a woman that has painful menstruation, they give them just paracetamol or stuff like that, and they come back the next month.
Right.
So he's sick of that. So his colleague doing the same hospital, same things, she made 250,000 the same month.
That's really awful, and it seems to be
because they get the percentage. It's a private clinic, so they get the percentage of what they make for revenue.
For me, it's a violation of the Hippocratic Oath.
Yeah, so exactly, and basically they are driven by the money and not by the Hippocratic stuff,
That's a violation of their Hippocratic Oath. So
exactly,
in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you.
But it's human nature. It's definitely human nature. It's sad. And I'm an American, you know, and the American.
But that's why you don't want to believe it, you know. But that's the point, because you think a doctor is not like that. But you know,
No,
it makes
the
money.
medical system in the USA is totally a business. It's it's not a good feeling. I've been living in Europe for 25 years, but I remember going back and I needed to go to the dentist when I was in the States. And first thing they wanted to do is they very aggressively want to get my credit card information and everything else. And there's no, it was such a bad feeling. It just like, wait a second, I've got pain here, you know. Yeah, and there's a lot of that stuff. There's a lot of very rich doctors in the United States. In fact, I think a lot of doctors become doctors because they want to, not because they want to help people, but because they want to have, you know, the $1 million annual income or above.
Yeah.
And it's totally doable in the USA. So I don't like that aspect of healthcare.
And on the other side, you have the nurses, which is the opposite. You know, they don't earn a lot, you know, and
Yeah,
I think that they don't play those games, but they are leaving the jobs, you know, because they are not valued for what they are really doing. Yeah?
that's true. And you also have a lot of because healthcare is run as a business, in the USA at least, you have a very high administrative costs. For example, I saw a study a couple of years ago before the pandemic that in the USA, healthcare administrative costs are 5 times what they are in Canada. And in Canada, they have generally better outcomes. You know, you can measure the metrics of the outcomes.
Yeah. And that's not new, huh? Because I was in the US as an expat for 18 months back in 2002, 2003. And I already heard about that, you know, the Americans going to Canada and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense, and it's the political system is so broken that they are not able to change it. I think some people want to change it, but some people want to make it even worse. So I don't know. It's sad.
So I think we could talk hours about that, because you know, recently I was in a conference where I said, you know, that the whole hospital is sick, you know, and again, and I said, I even use other words, because you know, I said, we don't talk even only about productivity. We talk about a lucrative business, you know. So that's a word which hurts me in a healthcare environment, you know, being lucrative.
It is. Yeah.
And that is what they do, you know. If somebody is not making revenue let's say not somebody, if a patient is not bringing revenue anymore in one department, they try to push it to the next one or back home, you know.
Right. Yeah. That's really sad when. You know, with our, you know, it's a little bit off topic, but you know, the whole story of, you know, communism versus capitalism back in the Cold War, and that capitalism won because the Soviet Union went bankrupt. It's a little bit of a shame, because everything, healthcare, in my opinion, should not be run as a business. It's not good. It's not the way to get the best outcome for patients. But of course, you know, you need a healthy and economically healthy society to have all the infrastructure to be able to deliver good healthcare. But how do you achieve that without getting in, you know, you get like lost in extremes with the political ideologies or something. You know,
but I think we are not completely off track, because that's where I still expect AI to be able to help, because that's my point. It's going to be difficult to stop that mentality, you know, that the hospital has to make revenue and all that. But AI could help to remove all that bureaucracy, you know, because there is about 70% bureaucracy. I heard recently in the UK, but you know, it's maybe slightly different from one country to the other. So if we can increase productivity because you can use AI to remove bureaucracy, then maybe we are still back to something which is more profitable from that point of view. Huh?
Yeah. If there can be a way to get to deliver better outcomes for the patients using AI, and I know there are so many. It sounds great. Attacking the bureaucracy sounds great. Yeah.
But again, there is more than bureaucracy. You mentioned before, you know, also, you know, if you go to radiology and all that. So the problem is those things already exist even since quite some years. But if you go in a local hospital, whatever, it's not there, you know, because they don't put the money into that. You know, I have very simple example. Just 2 weeks ago, my niece got her baby like 35 days too early.
Oh, wow.
But it was 3.4 kilo and 50 centimeter. So I said,
wow, that's very healthy.
how can you say that it's 35 days too early? Are you sure that it was not a mistake?
Yeah.
You know, when they estimated the date. And then I talked to a gynecologist, you know, and he's saying, look, you know, the material that we have, it must be so precise, but you measure manually. He said, if I do 3 measures, I got 3 different dates. You know, and that's something which AI could be much better.
Yeah, true.
So that I'm saying, you know, there's still technology which would ease their job, you know, but if you think that today they take a radiography and they put the pointer manually to measure the size of the tumor, the size of the baby, whatever.
Right. Yeah, that's
So
funny.
So I think that's the reality, you know, the technology would be there, but until the technology comes, you know, to let's say to the daily routine, it's still going to take time, huh?
Yeah, it will. There's obviously lots of places where we're at the cutting edge, and then a lot of other places that haven't caught up to even 10 years ago.
Yeah, and then you come to the discussion about, you know, the private clinics and the public hospital and all that, which are not having the same budget and things like that, huh?
Yeah, but it's a challenge for our societies to find a way to deliver the best outcomes for the people, for the patients, the customers, let's say. And how do you do that in a capitalist system? How do you find the way, you know, that you can still find the funding? Because it has to, you know, you have to get money into these things, and these are challenges. And I love the idea of taking AI to generate new, you know, because it's like I said before, you look at the problem, and then don't try to look at how to solve it from the existing stuff. Say, how can we build a new solution that generates better outcomes for our patients using AI? That's brilliant. I love it. I think it's great.
No, we are back to the start of your discussion, you know, about this challenge, you know, to really solve a problem. And in healthcare, we have enough problems, you know. It's not the problem that we are missing, you know. So what can we do, you know, with technology to do that? You know, again, I said the system is more sick than we think, you know, like even a GP, you know, I don't know if it's the same, you know, so in Czech Republic or in the US, you know, even to get an appointment with the GP becomes difficult. If people want to go to the GP because they have some throat pain and a little bit of fever, you don't get an appointment, and he's telling you go to the emergency. So you go to the emergency because you have a little bit of fever, you know, and then you overloading there, you know. So I think that's I'm saying the whole hospital, from my point of view, is sick because of that. So we have a lack of resources. We know that we cannot solve it so easily because, you know, even if you send now, if you would send more younger generation, you know, to the medical school, it's going to take 5, 7, 10 years before they're out there. So in between, I think you have no other choice than getting support, you know, from the technology. Yeah?
I agree. I think it's really something that can revolutionize healthcare. Yeah. And that's cool that you saw that and you have DeHealth in that space.
Yeah. So let's come, you know, to not talk only about changing the whole world, you know. So what are your key challenges, you know, for Qore technology, you know, what are you facing, let's say, on a daily basis with your clients?
If you mean regarding AI, basically our solution is kind of interesting because we are providing a bridge between enterprise technologies and the AI tech stack written in Python. So we have we support like Python as an enterprise language, which is not really, because we use CPython, so it's got some restrictions. So then Java is typically the tech stack for enterprise stuff. So that's cool, but we find it, you know, the idea is great. Enable AI and data science to access data, drive process automation, you know, connect AI and data science to the enterprise technologies. But it's very rare to find a customer that says, hey, I need to you know, deliver stuff that I can normally get in Python and then deliver a bunch of you know, connect it to a bunch of enterprise technologies. But what we're looking at now is turning our platform, using generative AI to turn our platform into more of a, instead of a platform that a skilled person or trained person would come in and configure, to turn it into a systems integrator, because those people would normally come from a systems integrators, more so that you would have a dialogue with the platform, you would tell it what you want to do, and it would generate the configuration for you. So this is, I think, a very interesting use of generative AI, where you can, well, like one way to do it would be use a large language model like ChatGPT, and then the output of that would be to generate input for another model that's specific to that will generate the configuration in our system. You know, so they would have two layers: one that would interface with the customer, and then one at the bottom level that would take a more restrictive set of input that would generate configuration in our platform. Anyway, these are the challenges we're looking at.
Yeah, and you, I guess from what I heard from you, but please confirm, are you already using ChatGPT even to write code and stuff like that?
Oh, no, our customers are using a lot of times Microsoft Copilot, which is a similar, okay. And we support that in our IDE because we use Microsoft platform for our IDE, but we're not yet using ChatGPT to generate. You can use ChatGPT to generate code for our platform, but we aren't doing it, and we want to take it to another level. Because actually our platform, it's not just about code, but it's about it's a no-code platform, and it basically can take configuration and deliver a complex solution. So what we want to do is actually use ChatGPT to generate, or something like ChatGPT, a large language model like that, to generate this intermediate language or specification, which is also in like plain English, but it's much more limited, and then use that to generate configuration for our platform, because you don't need to code in our platform. So we don't want to actually be generating source code. At least that's not the plan, if that helps.
No, I'm asking because I also playing a little bit around. So recently I just tested it at my level, by just doing asking ChatGPT to do some Visual Basic code to create a PowerPoint presentation. But that was cool. That was more to play around, But it's interesting because for me, it's still the same point. One time it worked, one time it didn't work, and there was an error, a runtime error, which ChatGPT was not able to solve.
Absolutely.
But it's okay, because it just means you need to understand a little bit, still understand the code, and then you can fix it by yourself.
Of course, but this is exactly the challenge of generative AI, because it's actually good at generating results that look, they conform to a certain expectation of how things look, but not necessarily that's why it's, it doesn't mean it's going to be technically correct from the point of view of the let's say Visual Basic parser in your PowerPoint application. And that's this is why this is something that people need to understand about ChatGPT, that especially people that are out there and using it, one-to-one to do their work for them, because it could be mostly nonsense.
And the other side, normally ChatGPT is still learning. So if you're fair, you would correct the error, and you would tell it to ChatGPT so that the next time it's not doing the error again. Huh?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
It's still also learning. No, it's as I said, it's amazing. But so what kind of client do you have? The big ones, or the medium-sized enterprise? Because I think that's also a challenge,
We have a mix. We have a mix. We started with very large enterprises, and now we have more like smaller mid-sized companies. And it's a totally different way of working with a very large company and a mid-sized company. So but we see that, especially, actually we have the only segment of our customers that are really actively employing AI are our tech partners that are AI companies. So we do have those, and there's those, of course, they're all about AI. But otherwise, we're not seeing our large or even mid-sized companies able to understand what they can do with AI and use it. Now they're talking about it a bit, but we haven't seen them actually use it yet. So there are customers, at least, are a little bit behind.
Because I think there's a huge opportunity there, but as you said, they are not aware or have no time or no resource. So the point is, if you could jump in, to provide that resources, but you need at least them to listen to you, So
yes, true.
I was recently involved that there is an organization here near Basel called Basel Area Business and Innovation. So
Oh,
they
cool.
have a few branches, some are in healthcare, and there is one in the industrial piece, and mainly about SMEs.
Okay.
And it took them basically 2 years to really pick up and be able to get use cases and all that,
Wow.
because the point was exactly like that. They wanted to do AI, and they say, but how can I get now the mid-size enterprise, telling me what would be the use case? So, because,
Right.
you don't use AI for AI, you need to have a use case. So I think it took them close to 2 years to get kind of consortium and have some use cases to work on.
Wow. That's really something. Yeah,
Yeah.
but there's going to be a lot of that out there. There are just a lot of companies that are really behind and will take more time because it's moving so fast, quite simply, and they don't have somebody that's going to hold their hand and help them to understand it and deploy it or employ it.
That's what I'm saying, there would be opportunities, for
Mm.
companies like you,
Mm.
but how much time would you lose, in terms of getting, can you wait 2 years until the door open?
Well, we're not a service company. That's the other thing. We're a product company. So we don't, I mean, I do a lot of, like talking like to people and advising and things like that, but it's not our core business. So it's not like I have a bunch of people going out there and doing that. So I would love for our customers to be more, to be doing that and for us to help them to do it. So maybe I can find a way.
Yeah. No, it's so anything that you would like to add, just something we have not talked about and that you would love to talk about?
Oh gosh, I love talking about AI. I think that the potential is just like something we can dream about, and you can always think about new ways of making sure it's focused on doing good for human beings,
Mm.
making sure that it, like we talked about with healthcare, it just in general, everywhere we employ AI, there's a lot of fear and fear mongering out there, of course, and it is a challenge. We can't, we do have to think about how we use it. It's incredibly powerful. If we talked about before, like Cambridge Analytica in the past, these kind of applications of AI can be scary, and you can see if you can nudge a large set of the population just a couple of percentage points over on some issue, you can have a dramatic global effect on things. It can be billions of dollars at stake potentially. So the power of AI is enormous, and how we can regulate it, how we can make sure that it stays under our control, how we can balance like regulation with allowing people to experiment and businesses to do what they want to a certain extent, so that we can find out what the capabilities are. And we as human beings, like the environment, right? We need to make sure that we control our environment so that we don't have catastrophic climate change. The same with AI. We need to make sure that we can control how it's employed, and that it is always directed on making life better for people. And how do you define that, right? Because it has to be defined like on a global level.
And again, I think these are the big challenges. We hear now about AI, in terms of, talking about ethics and all that. And the point is, AI is not going to solve the ethics point, the issue. And again, that was always an issue. But because I think the key challenge now is the pace of that. Can we cope with the pace of that in terms, and you just mentioned, about getting, all the fake stuff and all that, so know we have soon the US election coming again, so there were always doubts about the previous elections, but I think this doubt could become even bigger.
I hope the US will not implode and become a counterexample or a cautionary tale. Of course, what role AI is going to play on this. I hope that after Cambridge Analytica and the Facebook scandals, that the people in the decision-making powers are going to make sure that nothing like that will happen again. But I really don't know. There could be a new use of AI out there somewhere that's not, that's a surprise, and it has a huge effect on these sort of things. I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah, because Cambridge Analytica is a good example. Basically, from a technology point of view, they didn't do that much wrong. It was just it went too far.
Exactly. But from an ethical point of view, it was wrong. It was, and we can see that after the fact, but it wasn't illegal as far as I know, right? I think it was. I mean, I think they actually had quite a few heavy consequences from what they did. But yeah, I don't know the details, unfortunately. But it is scary to think about what could happen.
What could happen, in terms of the whole political landscape and whatever, what you could do there. I just checked something because I don't want to say something wrong, but I checked something I have seen today on a nice quote on LinkedIn. There is a professor in the US, Raphael Grossman. He's mainly doing kind of VR surgeries and stuff like that. Huh?
Okay.
And he just wrote, that there was a lady called Denise Silber who once said regarding, the regulations, or the HIPAA, which is
HIPAA,
HIPAA. So she said patients rather be cured than secured. And now he's changed that in regards to AI. He said patients rather be cared than scared. and I think that's very interesting, because that's actually the point, we discuss, we make people so much scared about AI, rather than getting them, okay, on board, test it, use it, and then make your mind, rather than being afraid, that's it's evil,
That's true. Yeah, it's funny how it's such an emotional thing, and how the human mind works, and how we are not always rational. And how AI is, we don't know how they work, right?
And it's still not new. I had this discussion, I think, back in 2018. I was on a panel in Singapore about, IoT, about people losing job because of IoT. Now we talk about the same about AI, So I'm just saying it's nothing. We still come with the same discussion, the same arguments on the table. Huh? So did people lose job because of IoT? I don't think so.
I don't think so either. Europe is taking a lead in regulating AI. There's a lot of work been going on at the EU level for that. We look at, in the past, we had Isaac Asimov's 3 laws of robotics, right? Which are very interesting, because it's very easy to come up with some ethical contradictions by applying those rules. So they're too simple, right? You can't just do that and apply it to AI. So the challenge is really, it's really important. I'm glad that the EU is working on it. And I'm sure, or I'm optimistic that we will find a way to direct the power of AI eventually to make people's lives better. How we do that, and how it's gonna work in our current economic system. You mentioned universal basic income, things like that. This is fascinating, right? Then we have climate change. Then we have all sorts of other human weaknesses that we see, like the wars going on and things like that. And yeah, it's an incredible time to be alive. It's really an incredible time.
And I'm happy that you're feeling so positive about the EU, because I'm a little bit less, because just in the past, how many times, we had trouble to align 25 countries. That's the problem. In the EU, we are still 25 countries. And if you remember COVID, and maybe it's because of my focus more on healthcare, in healthcare, all those countries are autonomous. They have sovereignty, So COVID was a good example where every country had different rules they wanted to, So that's a little bit more my concern, about the intention is right, but what is going to be the result, really?
Well, I'm a part of a organization in the Czech Republic that's very active in dealing with the EU and their regulations. So I'm seeing a lot of this AI, and I've reviewed a lot of the AI work coming out of there. And I'm happy. The Czechs are sort of taking more of a almost not American style, but more like business first kind of approach to AI. Let's not make any regulations that is going to constrict our ability to without any benefit to people, to restrict our ability to do business with AI, kind of stuff. But it's very interesting to see the debate going on and to see it actively being worked on. But it is being done at an EU level, not just being spread out to every country. It's not going to have their own AI policy. Thank God.
And it's interesting that you mentioned Czech, because I just got a message again today. I missed an interesting event, I think, last Monday. Or even the week before. There was an event in Basel organized by a Czech guy, and he invited some Czech AI guys as well, you know. So it was a whole event at the Novartis Novartis pavilion. You know, I was invited, but I had a conflict with another conference in London at Google. But just to say, you know, there were a bunch of these Czech guys, you know, just coming to Basel, you know, to get this topic, you know.
Czechs are great engineers, and there's a lot of great AI companies in the Czech Republic.
No, and AI in general is okay to have this discussion about regulation, all that, you know. But I just had the discussion again today. In terms of healthcare, it is different, you know.
Because the healthcare is distributed. Right. Yeah.
No, but I'm also saying in terms of healthcare, you know, you cannot. I think you cannot define rules just for AI for all industries.
Right. You know? Yeah. No, very good point.
There are a few industries where I think, and healthcare is one, where you need also some people from the domain. And that's the issue.
I totally agree.
GDPR was the same. You know, there were a bunch of people sitting in the ivory tower deciding, and they didn't talk to the people that have to implement it afterwards.
Right. Yes. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean,
what they have to learn to get some domain expertise as well. You know, not just. And some industries are very different, so you better have some experts from that industry as well. Huh?
Well, I agree. I mean, the EU isn't perfect, and it gets a lot of, bad. Like a lot of people are upset with the EU, with the bureaucracy and the difficulty making decisions and stuff. But I'm happy when I see the EU doing, trying to do the right thing. And it's succeeding.
The agenda is there, you know.
The agenda is there. Yes,
it's on the table, and they talk about it. So how quick they are going to do it is the next challenge. Huh?
Yeah, but Europe has some big problems with its political unity because there's no common defense in Europe. There's no common even defense policies. Europe is to a large degree reliant on NATO's as a defense mechanism, and not all EU countries are NATO members. Switzerland, of course, not. Austria also not. And not all countries want to be members, obviously. But at the same time, without a strong unified defense, and also in other areas, being like being strong. Having strong political unity, it weakens the EU as a bloc, unfortunately, because the EU is not able to act as a bloc of 550 million citizens. Instead, it has to act. Individual countries have to act separately, which is not as powerful. It's not as compelling.
Yeah. So, and again, I think although COVID has helped a lot for digitalization, and all that, COVID has not helped for EU, for the politic, in terms of. Every country feels now, there is much more populism coming up in every country and all that. So that's, I think it didn't have, I think Europe was on a certain way and it slowed them down, even going back in terms of every country now want to do what they want to do. And I'm not talking about Brexit, that was before,
Brexit is a sad cautionary tale, of course, and they regret it. They know it was a mistake. I personally thought it was a mistake from the beginning, and now I think it's clear to everybody it was. But Brexit is also a populist-driven agenda that weakened the EU.
And again, the discussion during COVID, there was that discussion, in Italy, in France, and all that about doing the same, which would be the same mistake.
Yes, of course it would. Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff going on. There's and there are outside people. There are factors outside the EU that are actively trying to destabilize the EU, like funding separatists in Catalonia, just because it would be bad for the EU and things like that. And it's just so silly. And those same groups are funding, like in Texas, where I come from, the independence movement there, because I grew up
I didn't know. So you are from the Republic of Texas.
Yes, exactly.
So you moved from Republic of Texas to the Republic of Czech.
Yes, yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I spent some time in a few visits to Fort Worth, when I was working for
Right.
Novartis when they acquired Alcon.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So Alcon was in Fort Worth, so it's a very
Ah, okay.
interesting place, yeah. So
Yeah,
where are you
yeah.
from in Texas?
Houston.
Houston. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're
Yeah,
sending the
Southeast.
rockets.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. We actually have some of the best cuisine in the United States because it comes from Louisiana, because I'm from
Okay.
Southeast Texas.
Yeah,
Cajun
yeah.
cuisine is really mwah,
Yeah,
fantastique.
with the crayfish and all that stuff. Huh?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Crawfish etouffee is one of the nicest
Yeah,
things you
yeah.
can eat.
Jambalaya.
Also great.
Yeah. Okay, so I think we have to stop because now we are to the food, so it looks like we are becoming hungry. Yeah. So any last words to add from your point of view?
Thank you so much for having me, Philippe. I really appreciate your great and your great patience and your willingness to have me on your nice interview series.
No, it's not a willingness. It's an honor, and again, it's very interesting to exchange with you because we can barely touch every topic.
The honor is all mine.
Thank you very much, David, and
Great
have a
pleasure.
good
Thank you.
evening.
You
And
too.
you can go to eat some Cajun food if you can find it.
Yeah, not where I am right now, but anyway.
Thank you very much. Bye bye.